Hey, you guys, welcome. We're going to live stream a little bit of the Bhagavad Gita today, which is what an opportunity. What an opportunity. I quite love the possibility to share the Bhagavad Gita. Mm-hmm. There we go. Where's my reading partner? So as we get started here, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about this. We've been reading the Bhagavad Gita for several days, and we're now on chapter 10. Now, this book is written by Stephen Mitchell, and it's a translation of the Bhagavad Gita, which is really an old text. And I'm just going to read a little bit of the description of a little bit of the introduction. This was his introduction to this book. One of the best ways of entering the Bhagavad Gita is through the enthusiasm of Emerson and Thoreau, our first two American sages. Emerson mentions the Gita often in his journals with the greatest respect. So if you know who we're talking about, Emerson, Waldo, Emerson, it's pretty, a high endorsement. It was the first of books. It was as if an emperor spoke to us, nothing small or unworthy, but large, serene, consistent, the voice of an old intelligence, which in another age, a climate had pondered and thus disposed of the same questions which exercise us. So Emerson was a seeker, and a writer. Thoreau speaks of it in odd superlatives. The reader is nowhere rised into and sustained in a higher, pure, or rarer region of thought than in the Bhagavad Gita. Beside it, even our Shakespeare seems somewhat youthful. Beside it, even our Shakespeare seems somewhat youthful, green, and practical merely. What a revelation the Gita must have been for minds predisposed to its large-hearted version of the world. And what a delight to stand behind Emerson and Thoreau, reading over their shoulders. They discovered this superlative and cosmogoling poem in which, from the other side of the globe, across so many centuries, they can hear the voice of the absolute genuine, the absolute. Here's a kinsman. Here's a kinsman, an elder brother, telling them truths that they already thought imperfectly. They already know imperfectly, truths that are vital to them and to us all. In the Gita's wisdom, in an ancient clear mirror, they find that they can recognize themselves. So beautiful, eh? Beautiful. I think, there we go, back to there. So we're going to read the Bhagavad Gita, he says, means the song of the Blessed One. No one knows where it was written, when it was written. Some scholars date as early as the 5th century BCE, others as late as the 1st century BCE. The But there is general scholarly consensus that it is, in its original form, it was an independent poem, which was later inserted into its precise context. Book 6 of India's national epic, the Mahabharata, is a very long poem, 8 times the length of the Eliot and the Odyssey combined, which tells the story of a war between 2 clans of a royal family in northern India. So this just to give you an idea of where this comes from, the history of the Bhagavad Gita. In his introduction, it's beautiful. And then he talks in a little later here. He talks about the translation. Because my knowledge of Sanskrit is rudimentary, I depended on 2 principal guides to take me by the hand and lead me through the intricacies of the text. Winthrop Sargent's interlinear translation, with running vocabulary and grammatical analysis, the Bhagavad Gita, Sunny Press in 1984, did all the busy work for me and made my first draft a relative breeze. So he talks about how he got to do this. It's pretty amazing, pretty amazing. So today we're going to read from chapter 10. We've read all of this, and I hope you have a copy. I really do hope you've found a copy of this book, and that you've it's one of the things that I've had the book for a long time, but its value for me went way up when Dr. David Hawkins, who had a scale, if you know of Hawkins, he wrote Power versus Force and many great pieces, The Eye of the Eye, and he measured the vibration of just about everything, many things. He and thousands of people that he worked with measured the vibrations of many things. And this book, he said, vibrated over 900. And that's off the charts in a way, because in his scale, he had built a scale from 0 to 1,000. And in his scale, he had 1,000 was Christ consciousness. You would have to say impossible to arrive at that from where we are now, and 540 on his scale was unconditional love. Can you imagine just living in unconditional love, free of judgment, free of complaint? And so from 540 at unconditional love to Christ consciousness is it's amazing. And so this book, you can imagine this book at just over 900, just being with it. I mean, I suggest you could sleep with it, and it would be an amazing, it has amazing vibration. So just with some reverence, we're going to read today. And we can start. I was waiting for somebody to join us on Zoom, but I think that they're quite late, so I'm going to start without them. Here we go. Chapter 10. The Blessed Lord said, "Listen further, Arjuna, to these words that delight your heart. This is my utmost teaching, which I tell you for your greatest good. Neither the myriad gods nor any of the sages know my origin. I am the source from which gods and sages emerge. Neither knows me as the unborn. Whoever knows me as the unborn, the beginningless, the great Lord of all worlds, he alone sees truly and is freed from all harm." I think we have an arrival. We do. There she is. Hi. You're on mute. There we go.
Okay, hi.
Hi. Hi.
Good to see
So
you.
I just kind of was, I read a little bit of introduction today and a little bit of about the translation, and then I finally have just kind of got started. So you're just in time. You're just.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Looking forward to this.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we've just gotten started. Chapter 10, Divine Manifestation, is beautiful. Can you see it, or is it upside down again?
It's good. I'm just gonna make this video bigger. Yeah, that's perfect.
Is it?
Mhm.
How have you been?
Busy. Busy creating awesome tantric everything. So many community events coming up.
Yes. Tantric everything is. What's the poster behind you? Is that a fabric?
Yeah, this is Saraswati.
Ah, there she is.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. It's on fabric, is it? So
Mhm. Yeah, I have a lot of these different tapestries from India. I buy them every time I go, and I have them all over my house. It's like I joke to people they don't really need to go to India. They can just come visit my house.
beautiful. She's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
You're
So
welcome.
we're going to venture in here. I think I've
Let's
lost.
do it.
Yeah. What happened to my? There we go. Um, so I'm going to start over. I'll read a page or two, and then I'd love it if you could read a page or two.
Sounds great.
Okay. So chapter 10, the divine manifestation or divine manifestation. The blessed Lord said, "Listen further, Arjuna, for these words that delight your heart, to these words that delight your heart. This is my utmost teaching, which I tell you for your greatest good. Neither the myriad gods nor any of the sages know my origin. I am the source from which gods and sages emerge. Whoever knows me as the unborn, the beginningless, the great Lord of all worlds, he alone sees truly and is freed from all harm. Understanding and wisdom, patience, truth, peace of mind, pleasure and pain, being and non being, fear and courage, nonviolence, equanimity, control, benevolence, fame, dishonor, all these conditions come forth from me alone." Wow. The seven primeval sages, the four progenitors. How do you say that word? The four, can you see it?
Progenitors.
Progenitors, from whom
Yeah.
all human beings
I
descend.
guess it's
Mm? From whom all human beings descend, arose from my own depths, mind born. He who can understand the glory of my manifestations is forever united with me by his unwavering love. I am the source of all things, and all things emerge from me. Knowing this, wise men worship by entering my state of being, thinking and speaking of me, enlightening one another. Their lives surrendered to my care, they are always serene and joyous. To those who are steadfast, who love me with true devotion, I give the yoga of understanding, which will bring them to where I am, Acting with deep compassion from within my own being, I dispel all ignorance born darkness with wisdom's uh, recipient light. Recipient light. Anyway, the light. He's got the light. It's beautiful. How many pages is this? It's a few. I can read another one. Wow. Arjuna said, "O Lord, or you, Lord, are the supreme freedom, the supreme abode, the eternal person, the primordial God, all pervading, birthless." This is how the great sages describe you, the divine Narada, Asita, Divala, and Varsu. And now you yourself confirm it. Everything you have told me, Krishna, I believe is true. Neither the gods nor the demons can grasp your infinite forms. You alone know yourself through yourself, Lord of all beings, cause and origin, master of the universe, God of gods. Tell me now in detail the divine self-manifestations by which you pervade these worlds and grace them with so much splendor. How could I know you, Krishna? Which of your many forms should I visualize, Lord of Yoga, as I focus my thoughts on you? Give me some further examples of your glorious manifestations, for I never can tire of hearing your life-giving honey sweet words. The blessed Lord said, "All right, Arjuna, I will tell you a few of my manifestations. The most glorious ones, for infinite, are the forms in which I appear. I am the self, Arjuna, seated in the heart of all beings. I am the beginning and the lifespan of beings, and their end as well. Of the sky gods, I am Vishnu. Of the heavenly lights, the sun. Marichi, chief of the wind gods. Among stars, I am the moon. Of the Vedas, I am the hymns. Indra among the gods. The mind among the six senses, the consciousness of all beings. Of storm gods, I am Shiva. The demigods, Kabira. Igna among the bright gods, and Miryu, highest of mountains. Know, Arjuna, that among priests I am Varashpita, of generals the war god Shanta, of waters I am the ocean, of the great seers I am the Brighu, of words I am the syllable Om, of worship I am the mantra of the mountain chains, of worship I am the mantra, of mountain chains of Himalaya, of trees the sacred fig tree, of divine sages Narada, of the high celestial musicians Chaturitra, of saints the wise Kapala, of horses your Indra's favorite, born of the sea foam, of elephants Indra's wing, of elephants Indra's winged, Aravinta of men, Aravintia of men. I am the king of weapons, Indra's thunderbolt, and I am the king of weapons, Indra's OIC. Aravinta of men, I am the king. Of weapons, Indra's thunderbolt. Of cows, Kamdukas, the wise Ganter. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to read a page or so, or two or three?
Yeah, I'd love to. Could I ask you a question before
Yes.
I do? I'd love to know if we could have a peek in the inner world of David. What's happening inside that world as you read this? What are you feeling?
Well, I get a bit lost in it. It's pretty amazing, it's funny that I see it so differently than other times I've read it. And there's a little bit of I would call it just a hint of frustration that I can't read all the words, that I struggle with the pronunciations. But since I've had a big shift this year, I really recognize what he's saying more, you know, the immenseness of it, the you know, it's almost, there are no words to describe what he's trying to describe. And so I feel that, you know, I feel the, and so here I sense that, you know, he's trying to speak to our intellect with a description of universal intelligence, of God, of the oneness. And so, and here I am just doing my best to share this. You know, it's a, yeah. I feel tiny in a way. You know, I'd feel, I don't know if I have the language for it, but it's like, oh, you know, how to, I won't say hopeless, I'll say more like a little inadequate in this translation, you know, in this trying to share the depth of this. I don't know if that shares, I don't know if that's what the question was, but it's in a way, these last weeks and months, it's so I'm going to say impossible really to share this connection that's happened for me. And so here we are, you know, expecting nothing, you know, just doing this, you know, and not knowing, and really without agenda. And so pleased to be here in that, you know, and watching ego as well. You know, ego likes to say, where are we going? What are we doing? What's going on? And yeah. And for you?
Yeah, the image that came to me as you were just sharing now is that feeling I get when I look into the sky and I really focus on the stars, and feeling such a tiny part of everything. But there's this significance that remains. It's like an equal experience. It's a paradox of being so insignificant, but yet fully significant at the same time. and that's the image that came for me when you were sharing about how it is to read something like this. And I really enjoy these times of sitting down with you and having no goal and no aim. And you know, I'll share that it's a little bit of an edge for me, these meetings, because usually when I come on Facebook Live or I'm doing any kind of broadcast, I have a little bit of an agenda. I kind of decide what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it, and I want to get a particular idea across, and you know, try to make it snappy. And this is so opposite of everything that I normally do. And so for me, it feels kind of like a spiritual practice to just let go of everything that I believe I need to show up with to be on camera, to be on video. And the intense vulnerability that I feel of just sitting here, just being here and having the audacity to record myself, just sitting here, just being here, feels really scary to me. And there's lots of voices that come up like, oh, you're wasting people's time, and oh, people are going to think you don't have anything of value to say. And so I'm just watching all of that, and really excited about the opportunity to show up, to have this container that you've created and so amazingly invited me into, because I'm coming into your precious sacred container, and I know how meaningful this is. And so I feel deeply honored that I get to be a part of it. And I also really just love spending time with the scriptures. And it's an infinite exploration. And something different shows up. You can read it, like you alluded to, over and over, and then the next time you read it, it's a different book. And so I'm grateful that you are doing this, and I get to be a part of it. And one of the things that popped out to me was Hinduism, just the genius behind it, and how when you start tracking and trying to learn all the names of the gods, and you think, I don't know if you went through this phase, but I went through a phase, like, I'm going to get all the Hindu pantheon of gods and goddesses down, so I know them all. It's kind of like the whack-a-mole game. The more you read and you think you got them all, then this whole other text comes up from this whole other sect of Hinduism, and there's all these other gods that you don't know about, and so you're trying to get them all. And my suspicion is that it was done on purpose like that, so that it had to break our brains of the concept of a finite deity. And in the Christian tradition, there's a monotheistic one God, right? And God is omnipotent and omniscient and no beginning, no end. And Hinduism, I feel, is actually saying the exact same thing, but coming about it from a different angle, to break our brains and say there's so many gods that they're infinite, which is really just the same thing as one God.
Well, Krishna said,
yeah,
he said, all these gods are me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it breaks us out of, we need to be able to label it all, and we need to be able to categorize it all and put it all in a box, because you just can't. And so, these infinite gods and goddesses are like kind of breaking our brain to say, don't even try. It's just just don't even try. You can't know them all.
No. And the same with trying to assess whether the value of us doing this, the mind will my mind scrambles around and says, the same things, who is this for? Why are we doing this? And I have to surrender that as well. We never know the part we play. I think that if the intention is to share love, or God, then it's just it's not my business where where it goes or who comes on. On Facebook there are people watching, which is fun, and but again, it's just my mind wanting to see what this. So I just let it go. And with everything, it's amazing. Like we have a workshop coming up, and or you have a workshop coming up. I'm
You're
hosting.
part of it.
Yes. Well, and just to let it go, to say, because ego wants to control, my ego sometimes, and I don't struggle with it so much anymore. Just when it comes, I watch it, and they're like leaves in the wind, and I can't reach out and grab all the leaves. I just let them go, and know that it isn't up to me. To me, the controlling me, the fearful me. It's not up to me. So I feel quite blessed And the same with this, not only are we I think we're reading it for us.
That's what it feels like. I'm new to this with you. I know you've been doing this for a long time, and that you have a community of people who value their time with you. And to me, in my short time, it feels like we're a part of this vortex, and we're creating this container for presence and for love. And it's here, it's available. If anyone wants to be in this container with us, then they're welcome. You're welcome if you're watching. And that feels good from both sides.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for having courage to ask questions, to lead us into this conversation.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Shall we keep reading?
Yeah, I just want to say that, I think you're courageous.
Hmm.
And of course, courage comes from this relationship with the moment, comes with this, this relationship with Krishna, with higher power, with, as we grow in that, the courage, it doesn't even feel like courage anymore. It's just us being. Do you know what I mean? It's, yeah. So, but I still think you're courageous.
Thank you. Thank you. It has its benefits.
For being here. Where were we? Were you?
Okay.
Did we start with Kandarpa, the God of Love?
Now you're going to make me pronounce it. I'm going to go with Kandarpa, the God of Love, the King of Reptiles, Vasuki of divine snakes. I am Ananta, the cosmic serpent, Varuna, among the gods of the ocean, of the blessed forefathers. I am Aryaman of the controllers, Yama, the god of death. Of demons, the devout Prahlada. Of things that compel, I am time. The king of animals, the lion, Garuda among the birds.
Imagine saying he's time. Time is it kind of covers it all.
Of purifiers, the wind. Of warriors, I am Rama. Of sea monsters, Makara. Of rivers, the holy Ganga. Of creations, the beginning and end, and the middle as well. Arjuna, of knowledge, knowledge of the self. Of orators, I am speech. Of letters, the first one, A. I am imperishable time, the creator whose face is everywhere, death that devours all things, the source of all things to come. Of feminine powers, I am fame, wealth, speech, and memory, intelligence, loyalty, forgiveness. Of chance, I am the great Brihat. Of poetic meters, the Gayatri. Of months, Marga Shirsha, the first month. Of seasons, flower lush spring. Of swindles, I am the dice game, the splendor of the high and mighty, determination and victory, the courage of all brave men. Of the Rishi clan, I am Krishna. Of Pandavas, I am Arjuna. Of the sages, I am Vyasa. Of poets, the sublime Ushanas. Of punishers, I am the scepter, the astuteness of the great leaders, the silence of secret things. And I am the wisdom of the wise. I am the divine seed within all beings, Arjuna. Nothing inanimate or animate could exist for a moment without me. These are just a small number of my infinite manifestations. Were I to tell you more, there would be no end to the telling.
Well, there we are.
Whatever in this world is excellent and glows with intelligence or beauty, be sure that it has its source in a fragment of my divine splendor. But what need is there for all these details? Just know that I am, and that I support the whole universe with a single fragment of myself. Mm. Mhm.
Mhm. Beautiful, eh?
Mhm. I started to have that feeling at one point, like, okay, this is really getting a little obscure. This is, we're just now listing random things in the universe. But that's it. We could go on forever and list everything.
It's for me, because I spend a lot of time working with people in the addiction and the recovery world from addiction and alcoholism, and often we approach this subject. Often, I mean, it's the beginning of it. You know, having step two is that come to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. The question that comes up is the addict or the alcoholic wants to understand that power.
Mm.
So I'm often left with how to describe that. How to we really it seems impossible to describe it to the intellect, so having been in that chair many times where I'm talking to men or women, but mostly men, and saying, well, do you believe in love? And no matter how crusty they may be, that's the description that I often go with. And they'll say, well, sure, I believe in love. I love my dog, love my kids, and, or they'll have some examples. I love my mom, and they're personal examples. And I say, well, do you think that love is a power greater than you? Is love, where is love not? And then that seems to be the door opener to this, and because they can walk through the love door into this relationship with God as we don't understand him, or and so it's beautiful though, because in this writing, not maybe not for everybody, it depending where they are in their life, but I can't be the judge of that, but this writing really opens the door so much wider. It's like, oh my God, no pun intended. It's like, oh, you're kidding. So
Yeah.
it just like you said, it can, blow up the mind. It's like, oh, there is no description. He's saying in that chapter, there is nothing that isn't included in this expression of God.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's interesting for me because I'm a follower of the Shiva path, and so for me it's some of the words and the concepts. It's more natural for me to have the word Shiva there instead of Krishna, but really, I believe that God comes to us in the costume and the name and the form that we're going to connect with in that moment. And that costume changes over cultures and within different personality types. So God comes dressed as love for those who can see love.
Yeah.
And as Krishna for those who can see Krishna, and as Shiva for those who can see Shiva. But it's just God playing dress up. Just this beautiful tailored approach that the divine offers us. Like, what's going to really speak to you? Mm-hmm. Is it going to be a goddess? The tantric path, a lot of people go through with the goddesses, and that's how they feel. And that's a cool feeling when you find your resonant path, or maybe it's Buddhism, and you just feel that inner kind of vibration of resonance, and that feeling that is so deep inside that just says, oh yes, this is true. And it's not even from the mind. It's so deep. It's like this locking in, this aha, we're here now. Mm-hmm. And then once that locks in, it's maybe the feeling that you feel when you're reading the Gita, and you can tell me if it's anything like this, but I imagine maybe it's like ocean waves and they're just washing through with truth, and it just feels so deliciously good. I know that's how it sometimes feels for me. I'd love to know what your experience is once you have that locking in.
So I don't feel like I have a there's no identity in it. Like when I stop and I drop in, to this, or into, my breath, or into the reading, what I get is an immensity that's beyond, I get this like, oh my God, it's immensity that's beyond, a lot of my people who listen to these videos are people in the 12-step world, and Bill Wilson, who wrote the big book, he wrote a chapter called We Agnostics, and We Agnostics, he closed the deal. He said, God either is or he isn't. Either he's everything or he's nothing. What is your choice to be? And, and Bill was a salesman, eh? And so if he's everything, and I go into that, it's like, oh my, it's really, it's so easy to the mind totally gets lost there, which is beautiful, because, even though ego and mind wants to come on the trip, in the trip into everything is beyond description, beyond comprehension, beyond, it's also, I guess, into nothing as well. But yeah, so what I love about this is I see their attempt to allow this bigness, this, it's not in the description, and of course, as we go further, and Arjuna asks to see him, and which is coming, and it's like, oh, so it's an interesting thing that's happened, for me, because I spent most of my life trying to identify an objective God. And I was brought up in the Christian faith, and to be in a place that includes that now, it doesn't, if folks want to talk with me about, Jesus or Christianity, I see in those teachings also this, and so yeah, it doesn't, somehow some of the teachings have been exclusive, but there, in the Christian teachings where it says, be still and know that I'm God. The I am. So the thread goes through all of the teachings in of this thing that can't be described, can't be spoken of.
I was raised in a Christian, quite a fundamental Christian household, and
amen.
For a time being, I wanted nothing to do with that three-letter word, that God word. I really felt it was so awful and hypocritical and just plain wrong. And it took me being in India, studying in different ashrams and yoga schools, and hearing about Jesus and God from their perspective.
Yes.
Verses from the Bible read to me. And from that light, like it felt like a cleaner projector, putting Jesus up on the screen in a way that I'd never seen before. And I thought, wow, this guy is pretty awesome.
Yes.
He has a lot of good stuff to say. And I felt the truth in the teachings. But I think before, when I received them in my childhood, it was like the teachings were covered in this gross, like, polish of control and
Fear.
yes. And I couldn't even see the teachings through all these layers of control and fear and twisted for an agenda. And when I saw them without that polish,
Yes.
I fell in love with them.
Yes.
And I'm actually looking for a copy of the Bible right now because I Google things often. But I want to get I think it's the New King James,
Yes.
the one that's most like accurately translated, so
Mm-hmm.
that I can just have it. I want it beside the Bhagavad Gita, and beside the tantric text. I want it in my library because
I
it's
was in Rishikesh in a bookstore and found the lost years of Jesus or the lost years of Christ,
oh,
um, and which opened things even more for me. I had this it was a beautiful writing about his time in India and his awakening and a complete story of years after the crucifixion that this he went back to India and where he's buried and all there's um, so they have a different idea of the story
I'd
of
love to read
Christ
that.
and
I've heard of that book or similar teachings, and I would love to read that.
I think I still have it here somewhere.
Mm.
Books come and go. Hey, I, I often send people away with a book and
Yeah. You practice your non-attachment with your books.
yeah, some it's more difficult than others.
Yeah. It's funny because I travel so much. I've carved down my belongings so they all fit in my parents' closet in their spare room.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I struggle to let go of is books. My
Yes.
belongings are 50% books. I have 50% clothes, furniture, this, and the other 50% is books. So I still have that attachment to
Mhm.
to transcend one day.
Mhm. Yes, and I've thinned mine out lots, but yes, yeah. I hear you. There's
Tough one.
uh, it a lot of books are full of uh, you know um, a lot of story from the mind in a lot of books,
Mhm.
and I love Eckhart Tolle's you know effort to bring us to the moment, you know, and without too much story, and help us to see ourselves, become self-aware, and then from self-awareness to self-realization, in the moment. And I like his work, and Hawkins I'm really fond of, because Hawkins also, my mind wanted to know how this worked, and he just lays it all out, but then brings us to the moment, to letting go, to surrender, and to not self-improvement, which I had uh, shelves of self-improvement for years,
Mhm.
trying
Yeah.
to be the better man, and and to change the persona so that I could be more likable,
Yeah.
and to let go of that and recognize that there isn't nothing's missing, and that we're perfect.
It reminds me, do you know this YouTuber, JP Sears?
You know,
He's got a video called How to Be Ultra Spiritual. And it's recommended watching for anyone who's watching, or for myself, or people who are on the spiritual path, because it's so easy to trick ourselves and think, oh, I'm changing my whole life and I'm going on a spiritual path, but we're really doing all the same things. Like, we're still just trying to keep up with the Joneses, but now in a spiritual way. And we're still just trying to be smarter and better than everyone else, but in a spiritual way. And it's so easy for spirituality to become a mental masturbation where it's, let me read all the books, let me get all the knowledge so I have all the answers and I look so smart and evolved. And you're just the hamster on the wheel, just like you were in your corporate job. And so I love this video because it's a satirical skit. It's a little parody, and it just pokes fun, some healthy amount of fun at the people, and myself on the spiritual path. I've definitely.
Would you send me the link?
Sure.
Actually, we could put it up on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good video. And it reminds me how I believe that every valid spiritual path comes with a self-destruct button. There's a point in every spiritual path where you got to just push that button, blow it all up so that you're free to move to the next level.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's this koan or this phrase, if you see Buddha in the road, kill him. And it could be debated for a long time, but I think it speaks to that. We just sort of move on and glob onto a new thing. And now it's like, now this is the thing. And it's so easy to say, well, whatever you believe, if it's not the thing, then it's wrong. And we got to blow that up too. We got to keep blowing up our constructs. And I believe that truth comes in layers and it's infinite.
Yes.
So every time I think, I found the truth, as much as possible, I try to remain open to, for now, this is the highest truth that I have access to for now.
Mm-hmm.
So I will share that truth because it's helped me a lot and it's benefiting others, but never feeling like, I'm there. No, I've arrived. I've got it now, because that's just not true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll send you the link to that video, and I probably will head off soon. And I want to talk to you about all the events coming up.
Maybe we could do that offline.
I also want to share with your community.
Okay, please. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us. Okay. Yes. Let's talk about the events, and then maybe offline we could talk about some practical.
We'll just talk about the juicy, exciting stuff here.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So November 29th, we are doing a Tantra 101, which is a full day immersion into what it really is. And we'll give you what you need to have a tantric practice after that. And I have people coming that are brand new to Tantra and that have been practicing Tantra for years and find a lot of new awarenesses.
Is that the one here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. So,
yeah.
Awesome.
So you will be there, November 29th. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's really what you need to just have this tools to practice Tantra, to bring it into your life. So that's probably my favorite course to present. It's like my baby. I've been working on it for 6 years and tweaking it and making it more as impactful as I can. So I highly recommend that one. And then the next day, now we know what Tantra is. We know the different branches. We know how to access that presence inside ourselves. Then we're going to play a little bit and do one called We Are Bliss, where we get into the sensuality and the juiciness. And the reason I created Tantra 101 is because I've been all over the world and to many festivals and teachers, and I've seen a lot of things happen that didn't need to happen. And so for me, I really wish everyone would take this course or something like it before they do the festivals, before they go and study with the teachers, before they do all the sexual Tantra, because this is like the grounding so that you have your container and you know all the different parts of Tantra, because it's a very big tree with many branches. And I've had people in my class say, wow, I've been studying for Tantra for 5 years, but I didn't actually know what Tantra was. So that's so important. And then you can consciously choose what branches appeal to you, whether you want to do like the traditional classical Tantra where you're doing meditation and really you don't need a partner at all for classical Tantra. Or maybe you want to go into the more psychosomatic side where you're releasing tension and traumas in the bodies. It's a whole different path. So you'll get that download. And then once we've got that, and we're sovereign in our beings, then we can connect and play and go into the juiciness and go into the sensuality. And so that's going to happen the next day on the Monday nights. That's called We are bliss.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt called to do a community event. So Thursday, this one's new. You might not even know, David. I'm going to do a community online event. And this is because right now, like, we really need to amp up our heart power. And so this is going to help us really, really connect to that magnetic power and our ability to see through duality and see things in that truly compassionate way, where it's not just an idea of compassion, but we're actually bringing it into the body, into a tangible experience. So I'm making this available to everyone. No one is turned away, whatever, it doesn't matter what's in your bank account, just come. And
So
that's,
it'll be like a Zoom call?
yeah, that's on Thursday on Zoom at 8:00.
Nice.
And it's called Heart Power Activation.
Oh, nice.
I'll send you that link too.
Please, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And JP Sears. Yeah.
Nice.
And so anyone they can contact you to register. I think you've got all the links, or you can find me at Shamaya Tantra on social media. And
the event, I've sent the event out to some people. For some reason or other, Facebook will only let me invite a very small group, and I thought it would increase the size of the group I could invite when you made me one of the hosts. But because usually in an event I can invite 300, I think, and so it's only allowing me to invite a small amount. I'm not sure why. So I've been just taking the link and putting it on people's messenger.
Okay, great. Yeah. Yeah. And if it resonates with you, if you're watching and you have a friend, then you are welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, did you want to talk a little more about the nitty gritties offline?
Sure.
Okay.
I like that. I feel every time we get together, being with you helps me to be more present, and listen, and just to be here so I enjoy our time together because of that. And
I feel the same.
Yeah. So there's I'm just looking as I'm speaking, and we're just here. There's no thought rolling about the future. It's just moving in the moment. It's quite beautiful. So I enjoy our time. I'm really looking forward to. I suspect that happens for lots of people when they're with you. You bring them into this grounding or this moment. And I'm looking forward to our day together, or a couple of days that you're going to be here to, just kind of roll in that.
Yes. Roll in the delicious nectar of deep presence.
Yes. Yeah.
Connecting
it's beautiful.
To delicious chords that are always there. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's going to be good.
So yes, let's finish up this, and I'll give you a call. Can I do that? Have you got a few minutes for a call?
Yep.
And I just want to share my love with you and tell you that you're wonderful. Thank you. And
thank you.
We'll chat soon. And thanks everybody for checking in. And if you have anything that you'd like to say, you can comment on this video. It's going to be on YouTube in a few minutes. So actually it is on YouTube live right now. And you can make your comments there, and we'll get back to you. If you have questions about different ways you can spend time with Heidi or myself, and or about anything actually. And we'll get back to you as soon as as we can. So either on Facebook or YouTube, if you have comments, please leave them. And if you can think of anybody that might want to spend some time with us, Heidi's going to share her wisdom that I suspect goes way back. You talk about 8 years as a student, and teacher, but I suspect that Tantra has just woken up who you are, and it's coming out through that, through that teaching, but this is who you are. And
yeah, I mean, I was writing essays about Tantra long before I ever knew what it was.
Yes. And we find our spot, or we find our path or journey.
And you wouldn't believe how many people come to my class that are tantric. They know all of it. I mean, you you know a lot of this, you know this, and so many people do. I believe that it's really our natural state, and sometimes it's just being in the right setting to have that switch flicked, and then it opens up everything that you forgot, that you already know.
Yeah. So I look forward to spending time with you as you help flick the switch for some folks, into the oneness of who they are, and yeah,
Can't wait.
Yeah. Okay, we'll let everybody go, and thanks for joining us, and love you lots. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, David.